Peter. Zorik.
You to open your Bibles to the Gospel of John. If you have a Bible, a physical Bible, and you don't know where the Gospel of John is, look in the index. It tells you what page it's on. If you have it on your phones or your tablets, you can scroll and find the Gospel of John. We're in John chapter 20 today. I love that video. Emptiness can mean lots of things. We probably felt almost all of those at one point in time or another in our lives. We've felt that emptiness. And today we are going to look at what it means when we say the tomb is empty. If you are new to church or haven't been here in a while, welcome. We are glad that you are here. We are so excited. If you've been here before and this is your church home, welcome. I don't want you to feel left out. You should know how much I love all of you. But we are excited you are here today because we are finishing a series in the Gospel of John where we have been looking at the glory of God revealed through Jesus. And today we are finishing it up with the empty tomb. Last week we saw the cross. We saw what Jesus finished on the cross when he died in our place. And today we're going to see what happens next. The rest of the story as we have been told. So John chapter 20, we're going to read a few verses starting in verse 1. On the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early while it was still dark. She saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So when she went in running to Peter and to the other disciples, the one Jesus loved said to them, "They've taken the Lord out of the tomb and we don't know where they've put him." At that, Peter and the other disciple went out, heading for the tomb. The two were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and got to the tomb first. Stooping down, he saw the linen clothes lying there, but he did not go in. Then, following him, Simon Peter also came, and he entered the tomb. He saw the linen cloths lying there. The wrapping that had been on his head was not lying with the linen clothes, but was folded up in a separate place by itself. The other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, then also went in, saw, and believed. For they did not yet understand the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples returned to the place where they were staying, but Mary stood outside the tomb, crying. As she was crying, she stooped to look into the tomb. She saw two angels in white sitting there where Jesus' body had been laying, one at the head and the other at the feet. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "Because they've taken away my Lord," she said to them, "and I don't know where they've put him." So imagine you're sitting there. It is dark. It's still dark, it says. And all of a sudden, she bursts in the room. For us, it might be a phone call at 3 a.m. or someone pounding on the door while you're falling asleep. Something startles you and awakens you. And our first instinct is, what's wrong? What has happened? Something is different in this moment. We know that this is not a normal activity. So what is it that's going on? You look around and everything seems the same. But everything is different. Easter, that first Easter morning, is exactly that moment in history. Everyone was stirred at that moment. No one knew what exactly was going on. It said even there that they did not understand yet the scriptures, that he must rise again. And so they know something has changed, but yet everything seems the same, and it doesn't all at the same time. You ever have that in your life? Where you look around and things seem familiar, but they also seem strange. Something's off and you don't know what. But you know something is different. Mary Magdalene, one of the followers of Jesus, she was the first one to the tomb. She went to go pay her respects, to finish the burial preparation, to lay his body to eternal rest in that tomb. She wasn't sure how she was going to get in, but when she shows up, the stone that had been rolled in place had been moved. Now, there's a lot to that stone that we may not understand, but we know that one person, especially a lady like Mary Magdalene, could not have moved it by herself. Most historians say that it would have taken probably 4 or 5 Roman guards to move that stone. And they probably would have had help, leverage of some kind, to put it into place. And so when Mary Magdalene shows up and that stone has been moved, that stone has been rolled away, it caught her off guard. That was probably the first moment when she realized things were different. So she ran back and burst into the room like we saw, and she said, the tomb is empty. They've taken him. I don't know where he's at. And Peter and John is the one who's in our story, says the other disciple, because John writes the Gospel of John. John is a firsthand eyewitness to the resurrection, but he never names himself. He always writes in this third person, the other disciple whom Jesus loved, the other disciple who was with Peter. So Peter and John take off running. And since we know John wrote this, I love how he puts in this little line. And the other disciple outran Peter. He's like, hey, Peter, remember that time I beat you to the tomb? I'm faster than you. Just remember that. He was probably also quite a bit younger, so we won't get into that. But Peter and John run to the tomb. And John is the first one there. But notice what he does. He gets to the tomb. He sees it. He looks in, but he does not go in. Peter, on the other hand, I love Peter. Peter is bold. He acts before he thinks. He opens his mouth before he realizes what he's saying. This is Peter's mode of operation. And Peter just bursts into the tomb, goes running into a tomb, and he starts holding the clothes, the burial cloths. And he's holding them, and he's looking at them, and he's bewildered. He's confused. He doesn't understand what's going on. What has happened here in this moment? Then John, who was afraid to go in or did not go in at first, I don't know why he didn't, but we know he didn't go in at first. All of a sudden he goes in and he looks as well. And they find those burial clothes neatly folded, it says, but no body. Where is the body? Where is my teacher, my leader, my master? Where is the one that I have loved and followed for so long? Where is he? I remember just a few days ago, we put him right here. We laid him down. He was dead. Where is he now? So Peter and John leave the tomb and they're confused. They go back to the room where the other disciples are hiding away. Mary, though, stays behind. And she is weeping. She is crying. She's mourning because of the loss of her teacher, her friend. And I love this because she looks in, and all of a sudden there are two angels there. And they ask this question, who are you seeking? Who is it that you are looking for in this tomb? It's the same question that is for today. It is the same question that we have going on in our culture, in our society, in our own lives. We have the same question that's hanging around. Who is it that you are looking for? Who is it that you need in your life? And so I want you to think intentionally about this question this morning. I want you to see that Mary and Peter and John, what they did on that first Easter morning is not so strange. It's probably what we would do. I don't know. Would you walk into a tomb? I would probably be more like Peter, and I'd burst in and I'd be like, this is cool. Let's see what we can find. But also part of me would be like, this is also kind of creepy. But what they did on that first Easter morning is perhaps what you need to do right now. Who are you looking for? Who is it that you are seeking in your life? What is it that you need? This is an intentional question that I want you to really think about as we go through the rest of this morning. But I want you to see, as we approach and we start looking in, we can see that the tomb is empty. The tomb is empty. This is not a theory or a conspiracy, but it is a fact. Jesus is not in a tomb. You cannot go dig up his bones. You cannot find his burial spot. There is no tomb, no grave, no place that Jesus is lying in and rotting away. The tomb is empty. It is a fact. The grave clothes are there. He is not. It's interesting because Jesus repeatedly told his listeners when he was alive and he was teaching, he repeatedly told them over and over again, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to die, and then I will rise again. I'm going to be crucified. I'm going to be hung on a cross. I'm going to die a terrible death, but that is not the end. I will rise again. And what's interesting is that his enemies remembered that this is what he said. The religious leaders of the day and the Roman government, they remembered that this is what he said. That's why they put a stone in front of the tomb. Let's see him get out of this now. If it takes an entire unit of Roman guards to put a stone in place, let's see one man who went through the cross move it. Let's see him get out of this place. They remembered that. They put guards in the place to try to deter anybody from going in and stealing it. So the idea that someone went in there and stole his body and hid it, the idea that he was just a figment of our imagination and he just vapored away. All these, they're not, the resurrection is one of the most studied events in history. Skeptics, historians, people of faith have studied this, questioned it, looked at it from every angle. Even the historical accounts of the day when this happened, they bear witness that there is no body in the tomb. Jesus is not there. It's empty. But I want you to think for us, death is real. I'm sure all of us have experienced death of some kind in our lives. The death of a loved one. And it hurts. It's terrible. Everyone in this room knows the feeling of death and how it affects us. Many are looking for some kind of meaning in death. When we lose a loved one, when we lose someone we care about and they die, we start questioning things. Why? Why did they have to die? Why did they have to go in that way? What is the purpose of all this? If this is how everything ends, is in death, why do we have to go through this life like this? What is the meaning behind it? But when we look in and we see that the tomb is empty, all of a sudden it brings a different option to death, a different meaning to death. That death is no longer the end of it all. Death doesn't have to be the last thing for us. There is now life after death. The tomb is empty. For the first time in history, a tomb that is empty raises more questions than it gives answers. And that's good for us because that's what we see with these people in the story with Mary, Peter, and John is they have more questions than answers, and this is where God meets them. I love how John uses this story to tell about the resurrection because in it we have some things that just reading it in our English we don't understand, but as we look in, he uses that term over and over again. Look into the grave. Look into the tomb. Look inside this moment. And in this, he uses 3 different words to describe looking in. To see inside the tomb. First, he uses a casual word. Mary, when she first gets to the tomb and she looks inside and she sees that he is gone, that is a casual looking. The word there that we don't understand it in English, but because it just says that she saw the stone was removed and she looked and saw the cloths lying there. That word that we see as saw is actually just the casual looking. It's the way that we kind of do with movies and entertainment. Not to call anyone out, but do you watch TV at night and still scroll on your phone? That's a casual looking. You're not really paying attention. You don't understand all that's going on, but you're watching that show, right? Or like we've seen with, dads are famous about this. All of a sudden they're watching the football game, their eyes start closing, and you can start hearing the snoring, but as soon as you change that channel, I was watching that. That's a casual looking. Mary casually, while she was grieving, she looked inside and she realized things were different, but she didn't think about it. She didn't wonder anymore. She looked inside, saw that Jesus was gone, and took off running to the rest of the disciples. Some of you have come today and you are casually looking at Christianity. You're casually looking at faith. And you know what? Good. You're here. Look inside the tomb. This is where most people at Easter are. There's a lot of people who celebrate Easter, but they just look at it and it's a day of celebration. It's a day of gathering together and having good food and some fun. And that's good for Easter. They know that something has happened that we're celebrating. They just don't know what. They are casual observers of this day. But then John uses another word when he describes how Peter looks into the tomb. When Peter looks inside, he takes a close look. He takes a close look and becomes aware of what's going on. He holds the burial cloth in his hands to see that they are real. He holds and looks around and he tries to find, did Jesus get up and is he somewhere in the cave? Is he somewhere in that tomb? He actually starts investigating. He takes that close look. It's what I would describe as, there's a lot of people who look closely at trends, and we probably even will do some of the trends, maybe with clothing styles or haircuts, or if any of you are on social media, if any of you do a TikTok dance, I want to see it. There's a lot of people who look closely at trends, but we never ask questions. We'll investigate and wonder how we do certain things. We'll look at those things and we'll ask some questions. Maybe that's where you're at today. You know about Easter, you've heard the Easter story, and you're willing to walk into the tomb and take a look and ask some questions. You might be willing to enter in. You see what the Bible is describing. You see what history has recorded, but you don't believe yet. That's okay. Just don't stay there in the tomb. Then John uses one other word to describe looking inside the tomb. This word is, in verse 8, it says, when John entered in, he saw and believed. This looking in is to experience the moment. To experience what is really going on. It's when awareness turns into faith. It's when being observer turns into someone who actually feels the moment, understands what's going on. Has it changed their life? It's when we investigate something to the point to where we know the truth and it changes us. I would compare this to going to a concert or to a big trip, or to go on a vacation that changes your life, right? We've heard those words. It's when you no longer are just casually experiencing it, but you are actually involved in the moment. There are so many trips that I've gone on and people have asked me, well, how was the trip? And all I can say is, I can't describe it. You have to experience it. That would be this last looking in. This word for seeing the tomb is someone who actually looks in, asks some questions, and it changes you. Changes everything about you. Changes how you view life. Changes how you view your job, how you view your family. It changes how you view finances. Changes how you view death. Because you experience the empty tomb. You experience in a way that words cannot really describe. The empty tomb doesn't ask you to believe without evidence, though. The empty tomb invites you to investigate, to look inside. The empty tomb, as I said, has been studied and examined. It's been torn apart. We've had theories brought out about it. And it continues to be one of the most controversial moments in history because of the fact that so many people have different views on this. But again, today, all I'm asking is for you to look inside the empty tomb. For you to investigate and ask these questions. As a matter of fact, that's the next thing. That's what I want to end on is this. You need to learn to ask the right questions. Yes, we have all kinds of questions about church, why we do certain things. Those Christians are weird. I'm the first one to admit it, and I've been a Christian for a long time. We're weird. I'm not asking you to ask those kinds of questions, although I would welcome them. I love it when people ask questions about the Bible, about faith. I love to have those conversations. Just know that if you ask me a question, I'm not just going to give you an answer. I'm going to make you work for it. But I'm going to work with you through the answer. But here we see that Mary is left and she's standing at the tomb. And the angels ask, why are you crying? Who is it that you are looking for? It sounds like a strange question to ask someone standing at a tomb. Why are you crying? I remember there was a time Beth's grandmother died. And I was trying to comfort her. She was obviously weeping. She was crying. And I was trying to be a good... At that time, I was a boyfriend, so I was trying to be a good boyfriend, and I said something that was the stupidest thing I've ever said. Don't cry. That is the worst thing to tell someone when they're grieving is, don't cry. She looked at me, and she made sure I knew how stupid I was right then. But the angel asking this question, we got to understand, this was not some cold statement or cold question that just seemed like it was callous. Like they were, why are you crying in a graveyard? It was more of the tone, more of the question of, do you understand what's going on? Do you understand what is happening right now because of the tomb being empty? It's not this question of ignorance. It's a question that actually is supposed to invoke, supposed to bring out curiosity in us. Do you understand what is happening right now with the empty tomb? See, this is important to know. This question of why are you here? Why are you here today? Some of you probably came in with hurts and doubts. Some of you may even came in with, you don't believe in Easter and the resurrection, and that's fine. But the question is, why are you here? And I'm asking it genuinely. I'm not asking like, why are you here? I'm asking, why are you here? What is it that you are looking for? Who is it that you are wanting and needing in your life? What problems did you come into church today with? What are you seeking? And see, this is important for us to realize because Christianity, the Bible, does not ask people to get everything in their life in order before you come to it. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have a perfect life. Mary is a mess. Peter is oblivious. John is curious enough, but he's not bold enough to walk in yet. And the empty tomb says all are welcome to look inside. Everyone please come. But when you start looking inside the empty tomb, no matter which level you're at, you are going to leave different. I love the rest of the story. If you were to keep reading further into John chapter 20, Mary is weeping there, and the angel comes and says, "Who is it that you are looking for? Why are you crying?" And she starts she looks at these people and like, "Are you serious? Like, do you not know what is going on right now?" But then all of a sudden, she hears a voice call out her name, Mary. And she turns around and Jesus was right there. Jesus is waiting for us to just turn around and look at him. So who are you seeking? This moves the question from what is it that you're looking for to who is it that you are looking for? Because there's one person who can answer life's questions and life's struggles and issues. And the fact that Jesus is right there and he calls out her name to get her to look behind her is amazing. Imagine you being there at the empty tomb, looking inside, having all those questions and doubts, dealing with the grief of death, and you hear someone call your name. Would you turn around and look? If you do, you'll see Jesus. Because he is there waiting. And when Jesus shows himself to the disciples later on, they're hiding, they're afraid, and he shows up in the room and he brings them peace in the midst of their fear and anxiety. Because he is peace. I know each one of us came today looking for something, needing something in our lives. And the question is, who is it that you are looking for? If you came today and you're just casually looking in, if you're just curious about church, about Christianity, about the Bible, about faith, good. I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that you are coming and you are taking a look inside. My challenge is take a closer look. Take the next step to go inside. Ask those questions. If you are one that has started to investigate, you started to look into the truth of Christianity, the truth of Jesus Christ being the Savior of the world, just like Peter did, you hold the burial cloth in your hands, but you still don't understand. Keep looking. Keep asking the questions. Keep investigating. And if you want, I would love to help you with that. There are many in the room that would love to help you walk through that as well. But don't just stay there. Keep pressing in. Keep moving forward with those questions. And some of you, you do believe. You've looked inside. You know the truth that Jesus is not there. He is risen indeed. Have you started telling others about it yet? Because see, after all this, when the disciples, when Mary, when the other women that were involved in the story, when they finally saw Jesus, when they experienced it, they couldn't keep it to themselves. They started telling everyone they could. Because this is the kind of news that everyone needs to hear. The tomb is empty. Now, what are you going to do?